On the eve of our wedding, my fiancé's childhood sweetheart was forced, because of his family business, into a marriage alliance with a notoriously infamous socialite. Unable to bear seeing her childhood sweetheart jump into a pit of fire, she went to snatch the marriage away. She even made a grand, high-profile declaration of love that very day, using drones to assert her claim. For a time, the entire city of F was waiting to watch the joke unfold, mine, and the Mu families. What no one expected was that the very next day, the eldest daughter of the Mu family blocked my way home with her globally limited edition supercar. "Your fiancé ran off with my fiancé," she said, "so I'll use you to settle the debt. Marry me. That's reasonable, right?" Looking at the large expanse of tattoos exposed over the person's shoulder in front of me, I raised an eyebrow and smiled. "Indeed," I said, "very reasonable." Chapter 01. I probably agreed more readily than Tiffany Mu had imagined. She took off her sunglasses and glanced at me, the Patek Philippe on her wrist flashing blindingly in the sunlight. Just as eye-catching was the large rose tattoo revealed along the strap of her slip dress, black lines winding across pale skin, giving her an untamed edge. It did, admittedly, match the socialite reputation circulating in F City's business circles, but in truth, I had no reason to refuse. Tiffany Mu stood backed by the Mu Group, whether wealth or power. She was far beyond my reach. Aside from her less than stellar public reputation, she was an exceptionally suitable partner for a business marriage. As for feelings, in the world of business, that's the cheapest thing there is. In the silence, Tiffany sized me up again, then tilted her chin slightly. "Get in the car, let's talk." Her tone was as flamboyant as her car. I went along with it and got in smoothly. "So, Miss Mu," I said, "are you here because of yesterday's drone confession?" Tiffany Mu let out a short, mocking laugh as she started the engine. "Who has time to waste on something like that? It's just that Dorothy stole my fiancé. I ought to take something of hers as compensation, shouldn't I?" I recalled the scene from the wedding crash the day before, Dorothy circling overhead in a helicopter, shouting through a loudspeaker, "I can't let him marry someone else." It was like an absurd farce, and I, her fiancé in name only, had become nothing more than background scenery for the whole of F City. I exhaled deeply and leaned back in the seat, watching the streets blur past the window. "Fair enough," I said. "So how does Miss Mu plan to settle the debt?" "First, we get married." Tiffany parked the car in front of a 24-hour cafe and stepped out. "Let's talk inside." At this hour the cafe was nearly empty. She ordered 2 black coffees and went straight to the point. "Let me be upfront. I have a bad temper. I spend money without counting. I lack patience. And I don't plan on having children. And also," she shrugged meaningfully, making the tattoo along her shoulder seem almost alive, "and you can tell, I'm used to living wild. I can't be a virtuous wife or a nurturing mother." She stared at me after that, waiting. I took a sip of coffee and nodded indifferently. "I can accept that." Tiffany raised an eyebrow, a flicker of surprise crossing her eyes, but it quickly returned to her usual nonchalant look. "You don't mind?" I shook my head. "This is your life, your freedom. We're 2 independent individuals. There's no need to force the other person to change their preferences for our own sake." I knew perfectly well that I was only half sincere. It's true that love shouldn't be a form of bondage. It's also true that this marriage was nothing more than a transaction of interests. Dorothy had destroyed the engagement. The Mu family needed a way to save face, and I needed a wife who could silence the gossip. As for everything else, it really wasn't that important. Tiffany, however, seemed quite satisfied with my answer. She blinked, then fished a set of keys out of her bag and tossed them to me. "Here, the keys to the villa in the southern part of the city. Consider it a token of engagement. I've got a lot to deal with lately and I'll be busy. I'll contact you later." Holding the cool metal keys in my hand and watching her briskly walk away, I couldn't help but laugh helplessly. What was this? A lightning marriage, with a luxury villa thrown in. Just as I was wondering how I should return the keys next time we met, I heard someone call my name. Chapter 02. Fernando. I turned my head and saw Dorothy running over from the cafe entrance, still wearing the white dress she'd had on yesterday when she crashed the wedding. "What are you doing here? Why can't I be here?" My icy attitude made a flicker of shock flash across Dorothy's face. She froze for a moment, then quickly put on a smile and reached for my hand, only for me to sidestep and avoid it. "What do you want?" Her hand hung stiffly in midair, and a hurt expression crept onto her face. "Fernando, are you still angry with me? I know I wronged you, but I really had no choice. The woman Mickey was going to marry has such a terrible reputation. I couldn't just watch him jump into a pit of fire. You understand me, don't you? You support me, right?" I sneered inwardly. She could think this through and worry about that for her childhood sweetheart, yet turned me into a laughingstock for the entire city of F, and still expected me to be understanding. What a ridiculous fantasy. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. "Sorry, I don't understand, and I don't support you. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving." I brushed past her shoulder to go, but she suddenly called out again. Fernando, I know this is unfair to you, but Mickey and I truly love each other. Can't you be a little more understanding? She leaned closer, her voice softening the way it always did when she tried to coax me before. I just can't give you a proper status, but you still matter to me. We can keep our relationship as lovers. Isn't this how a lot of rich people do it these days? It's nothing unusual. Don't take it so seriously. I could hardly believe my ears. She had broken off our engagement, stolen someone else's marriage alliance, and now she wanted me to be her secret lover, and even told me not to make a big deal out of it. A wave of nausea surged up in my chest. I frowned at her. Dorothy, you really think far too highly of yourself. Whatever there was between us ended the moment you rushed that wedding yesterday. From now on, we go our separate ways and stay out of each other's business. Ended. Dorothy looked as if she'd heard the biggest joke in the world. Fernando, don't be so shameless. I came back to you because I was giving you face. Do you really think you can find someone better after leaving me? Whether I can or not is none of your concern. Even if I can't, it's still better than choosing someone who wants to two-time. With that, I walked past her and out of the cafe without looking back. Behind me came the sound of Dorothy stomping her feet in fury, but I couldn't be bothered to care anymore. Chapter 03. By the time the car was almost at my doorstep, I suddenly remembered that my household registration booklet was still kept at the old family house. So I turned the steering wheel and changed direction. Might as well head back and tell my parents about the marriage while I was at it. I'd intended to make it quick, but the moment I mentioned Tiffany's name, my father's face darkened instantly. Fernando, the mess with Dorothy breaking off the engagement hasn't even been settled yet. And now you want to marry that woman from the Moo family who can't even show her face in public. Are you trying to make our family lose even more face? I set my briefcase down on the sofa and kept my tone as calm as possible. These are two separate issues. Dorothy breached the agreement first. As for the Moo family's proposal, for us, my mother cut in abruptly, muttering non-stop about the Moo family's current status and influence. What do you know? Do you have any idea what kind of position the Moo family holds in F City right now? Even if Tiffany's reputation is bad, the connections and resources behind her are very real. Fernando marrying her would do nothing but benefit the company's expansion into the southern market. My father let out a cold laugh. Connections? Have you even heard what people outside are saying about her? They say she's a socialite, that she changes men more often than she changes clothes. How could the daughter-in-law of our family have that kind of reputation? Can reputation put food on the table? My mother walked over and patted my shoulder. Fernando did the right thing. Marriage is a transaction of interests. How much is love really worth? Look at Dorothy. You two were together for so many years, and she still ran off the moment she felt like it. They went back and forth, my father calling me foolish, my mother calculating gains and losses. Yet not a single one of them asked, what kind of person is Tiffany, really? And no one asked, is this what you actually want? I stared at the asparagus fern on the coffee table, lush and flourishing, and suddenly remembered the first time I won a national math competition as a child. My father said I'd brought honor to the family. My mother said it meant I could trade it for better resources in the future. Later, when I wanted to major in art, they joined forces to shut it down. That's useless. You need to pave the way for the family business. It turned out that from beginning to end, they taught me only two things, interests and family. The word self had been crumpled up like waste paper in their education and tossed into a forgotten corner long ago. The meal passed in heavy silence. At least, I was the only one who stayed silent. In the end, I still took the household registration booklet with me. Sitting in the car as I left the old house, watching the gate grow smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror, I suddenly felt dazed. The house I'd lived in for over 20 years now felt like a beautifully crafted cage. Every bar engraved with the words, family interests. Suddenly my phone chimed. It was a message from Tiffany. What are you up to? I thought about it, then joked back. Clearing thorns and blazing a trail. She understood immediately. Your family is strongly against it, right? It was phrased as a question, yet her tone was full of certainty. Before I could reply, another message popped up. Come to the villa in the south of the city. I'll show you the interior design. If you don't like it, there's still time to change it. I hesitated for a moment, then figured a change of scenery wouldn't hurt. I replied with a simple okay and drove over. When I parked in front of the villa and inserted the key into the lock, a faint sound of piano music drifted through the door. I pushed it open. The motion sensor light in the entryway turned on at once. The piano music continued, flowing from the direction of the living room, wrapped in the subtle scent of incense, inexplicably easing my mind. I moved quietly and peeked around the corner, and saw Tiffany sitting at the piano bench. Chapter 04. Tiffany looked completely different from before. Her once flamboyant curls now fell smoothly down her back, and she wore a plain white dress, immaculate from head to toe. Even that stretch of tattoos was gone. I froze for a moment. She seemed utterly absorbed, only turning her head to look at me after finishing the piece. There was a hint of amusement in her voice. Let me introduce myself. The person who just performed for you is Tiffany, a top-tier conservatory professor who charges $12,000 per lesson. I played along and gave a gentleman's bow. The honor is mine. I had no idea you could do this. There's a lot you don't know about me, she said with a smile. That piqued my interest. I spoke pointedly. Does that include your tattoos? She laughed. Waterproof stickers. Just for intimidation. That night, she didn't ask a single question about my family's objections. Instead, she pulled me into a discussion about wedding details. She told me about her plans for the ceremony, about the potential cooperation between our two families in the future. I didn't want to waste her goodwill, so I went along with her, responding smoothly and talking at length. We talked for a long time, until the hands of the clock were nearing midnight. Tiffany suddenly glanced at her watch. I still have something to take care of, so I'll be heading out. Make yourself at home, the toiletries are all ready. After saying that, she left just as she had the first time we met, swift and decisive. Once Tiffany was gone, I wandered around the house by myself for a while and found it dull. I decided to leave as well. I hadn't expected the world to be so small. The moment I reached the parking lot, I ran straight into Dorothy and Mickey, walking arm in arm. Their expressions changed instantly when they saw me. Fernando, what are you doing here? I didn't even lift my eyelids. Just passing by. Passing by. Dorothy immediately shook Mickey off and stepped forward with a cold laugh. Passing by my place at 11 at night? Who would believe that? Don't tell me you followed me here. What? You acted all high and mighty in the cafe yesterday, saying we were done, and now you regret it. The smug look on her face made my stomach churn. Following you, Dorothy, did that drone yesterday rattle your brain loose? Ha. Stop pretending. She planted her hands on her hips. I get it. You want to get back together but don't have the nerve to say it. So you're hoping I'll give you a way out. Fine. I'll give you that chance. But, her tone shifted, a crafty glint flashing in her eyes. Now you're the one begging me to turn back. So my conditions have changed. If you want to get back together with me, you'll have to take full responsibility for Mickey's and my wedding. The venue has to be the most expensive hotel in F City. The wedding dress must be Paris haute couture. And the band has to come from Vienna. And on the wedding day, you're not allowed to attend. That's mine and Mickey's ceremony. You'll have to give way to him. Mickey nodded beside her. Exactly. Think of it as the only compensation. Compensation. I nearly laughed out loud. Dorothy was the one who broke the engagement and stole someone else's fiancé. And now she had the nerve to say this to me. And he actually called it compensation. I didn't bother giving them any more courtesy. With a long sigh, I sent Dorothy a WeChat contact card. A neurologist. Dr. Sue. Dorothy's face flushed red when she saw it. Are you insulting me? I shrugged and turned toward my car. Just a friendly concern. Early treatment is best. Don't delay it. Fernando, you've gone too far. Get back here. I rolled up the window, cutting off Dorothy's furious outburst, and stepped on the accelerator, shooting out of the parking lot. For some reason, my mind drifted to the way Tiffany had shown me her tattoos, compared to that pair living in their own delusions. Tiffany, the thorny socialite, suddenly seemed refreshingly clear-headed. Chapter 05. In the 2 weeks after we parted ways at the villa, Tiffany and I both threw ourselves into work by unspoken agreement. Neither of us disturbed the other, until she sent me a message. The wedding venue mock-up is done. Want to take a look? Attached was a 3D rendering. I stared at the screen for a long while before it finally hit me. In just over half a month, I was really getting married. I then sent her the drafted guest list. Just as I zoomed in on the rendering to look at the stage details, my office door was shoved open with a loud bang, and Dorothy burst in, full of momentum. She slapped a gold-embossed invitation onto my desk, the corner of her mouth lifted high. Fernando, Mickey and I are getting married next Saturday. You are cordially required to attend. The invitation landed on top of my documents, the gilded letters reading, Dorothy Mickey. I didn't even look at it. I casually tossed it into the trash. No time. You. Dorothy was about to explode when her gaze suddenly caught my phone screen. It was the wedding venue rendering Tiffany had just sent. She hesitated for a moment, then grabbed my phone. What's this? The wedding venue you prepared for me? She poked at the screen, her face lighting up with delight. I knew it. You said we were done, but deep down you still can't let me go. But too bad. My venue's already booked. Still, I don't mind if you convert this into cash for me. I took the phone back, locked the screen, and spoke calmly. Sorry, this is my wedding venue. Your wedding. Dorothy looked like she'd just heard a joke and didn't take it seriously at all. Who else could you possibly be marrying besides me? What? Are you planning to crash my wedding? Making such a big show on purpose to provoke me? My finger had already paused over the number for security, but after a moment's thought, I decided it was better to make everything clear once and for all. I put the phone down and looked at Dorothy. Dorothy, I'll be honest with you. I don't love you. Back then, I got engaged to you only because you were the marriage partner my family chose. In fact, I knew all along that you were secretly staying in touch with Mickey and meeting him. I just assumed that in a business marriage, feelings weren't part of the deal, that it was the unspoken rule of our circle. So I never intended to interfere with your private life. But I've realized you seem to have misunderstood something. My tolerance made you think I loved you deeply, that I couldn't live without you. In reality, who you love or who you marry never mattered to me. What I couldn't accept was you publicly crashing a wedding and humiliating my family. I couldn't just pretend nothing happened and smile it off. However, now I'm getting married too. Let's turn the page. I won't attend your wedding, and you won't be invited to mine. From now on, we're strangers. I had almost never spoken with such seriousness, nor said so much at once. To Dorothy, she froze, as if it took her a long time to process everything I'd said. Finally, her lips trembled as she spoke. You never loved me. That's right. That can't be true. You used to care so much about my feelings. You were willing to give everything for me. As she spoke, she seemed to realize that I had just explained all of it as fulfilling the duties of an arranged partner, and she fell silent. I watched the tears slowly gather in her eyes, yet felt not the slightest ripple in my heart. Miss Song, I've said everything I needed to say. If there's nothing else, please leave. No, there is something. You just said you're getting married. Dorothy Song's voice shook. To whom? I didn't answer. She stared at me for a long moment, then suddenly let out a cold laugh. You must be lying to me, right? There's no such person at all. You're just trying to make me angry. Fine. Fernando, just to win one round against me, you'll really say anything. Then let's wait and see who regrets it first. With that, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The sharp clicks of her heels echoed urgently down the hallway. The office was once again left with just me. I picked up my phone. Tiffany's message still sat there. If the venue works for you, shall we go with this plan? I replied. Okay. On the 20th, I'll come pick you up to register our marriage. Chapter 06. The wedding between the Song family and Mickey stirred up a huge commotion, but I had no interest in it. It wasn't until the morning of the 20th, when I set off on time for the South City villa holding a bouquet of red roses, that my car was forced to a stop halfway along the ring road by a line of flashy wedding cars. I often marvel at how small the world is, because at a single glance, I saw that the people sitting inside were none other than Dorothy and Mickey. The window of the lead Bentley rolled down. As Dorothy leaned out, her gaze locked precisely onto the roses on my passenger seat. When she spoke, her tone was as arrogantly familiar as ever. Well, look who it is, the young master who said he had no feelings for me. What a coincidence. Heading out with roses on my wedding day. I turned my head away, trying to avoid the overpowering scent of her perfume. Move. I've got somewhere to be. Somewhere to be. Dorothy scoffed, nodding toward the roses. You mean delivering flowers to me? Fernando, don't tell me you're actually here to steal the bride. Mickey leaned out as well, resting his arm casually on the window frame, his eyes full of smug triumph. Fernando, not that I'm judging, but if you're going to crash a wedding, at least pick the right day. I'm really not in the mood to play along today. I'm not here to crash a wedding. Not crashing a wedding, yet you're holding roses. Dorothy sneered, shooting Mickey a knowing look. See, he's still pretending. When she turned back to me, her tone suddenly softened, though it carried a condescending sense of charity. All right, I get it. You can't let me go. Once my wedding's over and I'm in a good mood, I'll naturally get in touch with you. For now, move aside. Don't delay me getting to the hotel. I stared at her carefully made-up face and suddenly felt I had nothing left to say. This kind of arrogance, born entirely of self-delusion, was more exhausting than any argument. I didn't bother explaining. I just wanted to end this farce as quickly as possible. But Dorothy mistook my silence for tacit acceptance of her so-called deep affection and added, "What? Nothing to say? Is it because I look good in my wedding dress and now you regret not stopping me back then?" Mickey chimed in with a mocking tone. Fernando, forcing things never ends well. Face reality sooner rather than later. I'm going to pick up my fiancé. I cut him off. Want to come along? Dorothy froze for 2 seconds, then burst into even louder laughter. Fiancé? Fernando, could you at least make up a believable lie? Everyone in the circle knows that after I dumped you, no one wanted you. She leaned closer to the window, her eyes brimming with mockery. Did seeing me marry so grandly today make you desperate to grab any woman just to save face? Too bad. Even if you picked some random nobody off the street, I still wouldn't turn back. Believe it or not, that's up to you. When the light turned green, I sharply turned the wheel and drove around the wedding convoy. In the rearview mirror, the pair were still shouting furiously where they stood. Yet when the wrought iron gates of the South City villa slowly opened, Dorothy's car followed behind like it had lost its mind. I had barely parked when she stepped out as well, chin held high. Oh, isn't this the place Mickey and I are temporarily staying at? Don't tell me you've hit rock bottom and just drove here without thinking. Clearly you are trying to steal the bride. Yet you keep pretending you're here to pick up a fiancé. Who do you think you're fooling? I ignored her sarcasm and called Tiffany directly, telling her I had arrived. Not long after, the door of the neighboring villa swung open. Tiffany came running toward me, her face free of her usual heavy makeup, her steps light. You're a bit later than I expected, traffic jam. The moment Dorothy saw Tiffany, the arrogance on her face froze into pure shock. She looked at me, then at Tiffany, her lips trembling. Why you, the person you're marrying, is her, Tiffany. Chapter 07. Dorothy's voice trembled, disbelief filling her eyes. Fernando, are you out of your mind? How could you possibly marry her? Perhaps in her understanding, I was supposed to cling to a discarded engagement, drowning in self-pity, waiting for her to graciously grant me a chance to come back at any moment, rather than suddenly building a family with another woman. At that moment, Mickey stepped around Dorothy and walked straight toward Tiffany. It was his first time seeing Tiffany without heavy makeup or tattoos. The plain dress she wore accentuated her slender figure, completely unlike the image he'd known before. His gaze then dropped to the car keys between Tiffany's fingers, the keys to a globally limited edition supercar. So he plastered on a smile and tried to strike up a conversation. Miss Moo, long time no see. I didn't expect you. I immediately pulled Tiffany behind me and cut him off, my tone sharp. Stay away from her. Mickey's hand froze in midair, the smile on his face cracking. Seeing me instinctively shielding Tiffany, Dorothy looked as if she'd been pricked by a needle. Her voice suddenly rose, impulsive and strained. Fernando, you're serious? When have I ever not been serious? I met her gaze directly. We're about to get the marriage license. Do you really think I'm joking? You should be joking, she cried. We were together for so long, so many years of feelings, and it's only been a few days. And now you're getting ready to marry another woman. Her voice carried a sob, yet was still laced with a twisted sense of grievance. As if my betrayal was the unforgivable sin. She had forgotten that she was the one who crossed the line first. Feelings, I scoffed. Dorothy, when you repeatedly chose Mickey over me, did you ever think about feelings then? And now you bring that up with me. But it was as if she hadn't heard a word. She just kept smearing Tiffany. Even if you're trying to find a woman to spite me, you shouldn't choose her. She pointed at Tiffany, her tone vicious. Do you know what people outside are saying about her? They say she's a socialite, that she changes men faster than she changes clothes. How can you marry a woman like that? Aren't you ashamed? Where do you expect our family's dignity to go? My marriage has nothing to do with his family's dignity, and even less to do with you. I cut her off, every shred of patience gone. I'll say this one last time. I have no feelings for you whatsoever. Our engagement back then was nothing but a family arrangement. Stop overestimating your importance. And stop thinking I'd wait forever for you to turn back. And one more thing, Tiffany is about to become my wife. You don't get to point fingers here. I know exactly what kind of person she is. If I hear you slander her again, don't blame me for not sparing old ties. Dorothy was left speechless, her lips trembling, shock and resentment flooding her eyes. Mickey seemed about to say something, but one cold look from me forced him back into silence. I didn't look at them again. I took Tiffany's hand. Let's go. Before getting into the car, Tiffany suddenly looked up at me. A trace of complicated emotion flickered in her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by a smile. Let's go, she said softly, to get our marriage certificate. Chapter 08. The wedding procedures went smoothly. When I slipped the red marriage booklet into my pocket, the gold-stamped letters were still carrying the scent of fresh ink. I posted on my Moments, attaching a photo of the two marriage certificates overlapped together, an official announcement, so to speak. Not long after, dozens of likes popped up on my screen. Even my usually stern second uncle left a comment, "Happy marriage." On the way back, Tiffany suddenly started giggling in the passenger seat, her shoulders shaking. What are you laughing at? I glanced over, and she immediately handed me her phone. On the screen was a live stream of Dorothy's wedding. Judging by the setup, Mickey had probably started it just to show off. In the footage, what should have been a sweet and solemn ceremony was riddled with mishaps. Even the bride and groom themselves seemed distracted. When it came time to exchange rings, Dorothy even put the ring on the wrong finger. She didn't nod and say, "I do," until the officiant asked her a second time. It was a complete mess, more like a farce than a wedding. Look at the bouquet. Tiffany pointed to the corner of the screen. Looks like those fake flowers you get at a wholesale market for $30 a bunch. I laughed along with her, then told her I needed to head back to the office for a meeting. She responded casually, "I'll go with you." As soon as we reached the office building, we saw security blocking someone dressed in a white wedding gown. Her hair was disheveled, her makeup smeared beyond recognition. It was Dorothy. The moment she saw me, her eyes reddened. Holding up her phone, she rushed over. "Fernando, you really got married?" Her screen was still showing my Moments post, the red marriage certificates glaringly obvious. I was genuinely confused. What else would it be? Didn't I tell you this over and over? How could you do this? Tears streamed down Dorothy's face as she suddenly shot a vicious glare at Tiffany, like a trapped beast driven mad. It's you, isn't it? You seduced him, didn't you? You socialite. You're not satisfied flirting around outside. You just had to steal my fiancé. Have you no shame? Enough. I frowned and was about to step forward when a sharp slap rang out. Tiffany raised her hand and slapped Dorothy hard across the face. Dorothy's head snapped to the side, 5 distinct fingerprints immediately blooming on her cheek. Tiffany, however, looked as if she'd touched something dirty. She took out a handkerchief and calmly wiped her fingers. Originally, I didn't intend to get involved in the grudge between you two. I trusted Fernando and trusted that he could handle it himself. But I see now that he's already made his rejection very clear. And you're still pestering him, going so far as to insult me. In that case, it seems I need to resolve this for him personally. Dorothy clutched her face, shocked and furious. Why you dare hit me? Why wouldn't I? Tiffany curved her lips slightly and gestured to the nearby security guards. Wasn't that rather convenient? Get her out of here. Don't let her dirty the entrance. At once, 2 guards stepped forward and dragged the still screaming Dorothy toward the roadside. Tiffany then pulled out her phone and dialed a number. Hello, legal department. Make a list of all cooperative projects with the Song Group. Terminate every single one by the end of today. Yes, say it's the Moo family's decision. Oh, and while you're at it, include Mickey's family as well. She hung up, turned to me, and smiled, the sharp edge from just moments ago instantly replaced by gentleness. Come on, let's go to your meeting. She naturally looped her arm through mine. Behind us, Dorothy's curses faded away, cut off by the glass doors. I looked down at Tiffany. She was gazing up at the floor directory, sunlight filtering through the glass ceiling and falling into her hair, tiny flecks of gold shimmering at the tips. I spoke softly. Just now, thank you. She turned her head toward me, mischief glinting in her eyes. For slapping her for you, or for terminating the partnerships? For both. She burst out laughing and gave my arm a playful squeeze. Why be polite with me? Anyone who dares bully my husband, I'm obviously going to back him up. Chapter 09. I had always been afraid of completely falling out with the Song family, so no matter what Dorothy Song did, I kept the bigger picture in mind and never struck back too harshly. It wasn't until Tiffany appeared by my side that I gradually found my footing, and began settling the old accounts one by one. The day I finally tore things apart with Dorothy, I had expected backlash from the family. After all, the Song family was still a prominent name in F City, but Tiffany merely said lightly, if anything happens, I'll take responsibility, and had the legal department draft the termination documents overnight. Watching her sign the papers with crisp, decisive strokes, I suddenly realized something. The Fernando who used to weigh every move against family interests seemed to be slowly fading away. In the first month after marriage, I had to handle the bidding for the South City land project. Those old foxes on the board subtly hinted that I should step aside for my third uncle's favored connection. As I hesitated with the bid documents in hand, Tiffany was curled up on the couch watching financial news. Without even lifting her head, she said, "What are you thinking? Worried that offending your third uncle will affect the quarterly report?" I didn't answer. She closed her tablet and walked over, tapping the documents in front of me with her finger. "Fernando, you're holding the project evaluation report. The data clearly shows that giving this land to the West City Design Institute would generate $30 million more in profit. You're the one in charge of the family, not a tool for cleaning up relatives' messes." Her eyes were bright, like a blade cutting straight through my habitual hesitation. "What are you afraid of? You have the capability to make the right decision." That night, I vetoed my third uncle's proposal at the board meeting. Looking at his livid expression, I felt a long-lost sense of satisfaction. After the meeting, Tiffany messaged me, "Well done. I'll make you a late-night snack tonight." The more time I spent with her, the more I realized how absurd those rumors about her being a socialite really were. She would still be revising proposals at 3 in the morning, casually hand me thick notebooks from her overseas studies, and even rattle off trade barriers in several emerging Southeast Asian markets without hesitation. Once, I happened to notice missed calls on her phone labeled Editor-in-Chief, Financial Daily. She swiped them away casually. That guy keeps wanting me to respond to those rumors about me climbing the ladder through men. Too lazy to bother. I asked, why not explain? She was arranging freshly bought peonies in a vase. Hearing that, she smiled faintly. At first, I tried to argue back. I tried to prove I wasn't the kind of person they described. But once someone has decided to wrong you, why would they ever listen to your explanation? That was when it finally dawned on me. She had ability and resolve, so of course she also attracted countless rumors. Those who were inferior to her turned their resentment into filthy blades and hurled them at her. Yet Tiffany looked utterly unbothered, like someone who had already crossed countless mountains. So I stopped explaining and just focused on being myself. I can wear heavy makeup, or I can go barefaced. I can enter a marriage of convenience with someone I don't love, and I can also take this relationship seriously. All choices are in my hands. Fernando, they're in yours too. She walked over and lightly tapped the spot over my heart with her fingertip. Fernando, you used to always say, a marriage alliance doesn't involve feelings. But have you ever thought about why you have to trap yourself inside the shell of alliance in the first place? As she said this, sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, gilding the top of her hair. I looked at her, my heart suddenly skipping a beat. I had always thought our marriage was nothing more than a transaction of interests. I'd never imagined Tiffany would ask me such a question. Her words were like a stone tossed into a still lake. I thought of how, for more than 20 years, my parents had only ever taught me family interests above all. How Dorothy had only ever demanded, you should treat me well, yet no one had ever told me, you're allowed to be yourself. And Tiffany, this woman wrapped in rumors, was telling me in the most straightforward way possible, the choice is yours, I murmured. I used to think living like a perfectly calibrated machine wasn't so bad. But after meeting you, after meeting me, what? She tilted her head, mischief sparkling in her eyes. I looked at her bare, unadorned face and thought of her flamboyance behind the wheel of a supercar, her gentleness at the piano, and her sharp decisiveness when she slapped Dorothy for me. Those multifaceted, vivid, undefinable versions of her were exactly the self I had always yearned for, but never dared to touch, hidden beneath my tailored suits. Smiling, I reached out, wrapped an arm around her waist, and gently pulled her closer. After meeting you, I feel like I want to be Fernando, rather than just the family heir. She laughed too, her eyes curving into crescents, and hooked her arms around my neck. You should have done that a long time ago. Chapter 10. Dorothy came looking for me again on a stormy night. She was drenched from head to toe, her makeup ruined, her hair a mess, no trace left of the arrogance she once had when she wore her wedding dress. She grabbed the sleeve of my suit, trembling uncontrollably. Fernando, please help the Song family. The cash flow has collapsed. The banks are pressing for repayment. My father was so furious he's been hospitalized. I pulled my arm back and looked at her ashen face. Miss Song, the business world is a battlefield. Back when you were so high and mighty in front of me, trampling my dignity under your feet, you should have expected this day would come. That was just something I said in anger. She broke down crying. I know I was wrong, truly wrong. Please, I'm begging you, let me go. She tried to cling to my leg, but Tiffany stepped forward and blocked her, holding an umbrella. Tiffany looked down at Dorothy from above, her tone calm and detached. Miss Song, please don't make inappropriate physical advances toward another woman's husband. And I'm very sorry, but neither my family nor the Mu family gives traitors a second chance. Dorothy Song's gaze shifted from Tiffany Mu to me, despair filling her eyes. Fernando, we had so many years together. No, I interrupted her. I've reminded you countless times, I never had feelings for you. As the light slowly drained from Dorothy's eyes, I took Tiffany's hand and went home with her. But trouble never comes alone. A few days later, Mickey actually showed up, rubbing his hands together. He glanced at the floor-to-ceiling windows in Tiffany's office, his tone ingratiating. Tiffany, I was wrong back then. Get out. Tiffany didn't even look up, flipping through her documents. I have nothing to say to you. Thick-skinned, Mickey stepped closer. I know you're still angry, but after all, we were originally meant to be a marriage alliance. Look at the Song family now, and my family too. Bang. Tiffany slammed the documents onto the desk. When she stood up, her gaze was icy. Mickey, do you really think the Mu family's marriage partner is something any random nobody can qualify for? She walked up to him, high heels striking the floor, each step heavy with pressure. And besides, someone like you, even if you paid me, I still wouldn't want you. Mickey shrank back half a step under her stare. Just as he tried to say something else, Tiffany waved her hand impatiently. Security, escort this distinguished guest out. When I stepped out of the elevator, I happened to see Mickey's dejected figure slinking away. Hearing my footsteps, Tiffany turned around, her face already softened into a gentle smile. You're here. What do you want for dinner tonight? I'll have the kitchen prepare it. I walked over and wrapped my arms around her from behind, resting my chin on the top of her head. Anything's fine. Later, I heard that the Song family and Mickey ultimately failed to survive the crisis. They sold off their assets just to barely clear their debts. Dorothy Song and Mickey Long lost their former glamour and became a joke everyone in F City's business circle avoided. As for Tiffany and me, in this marriage that began as a way to settle a debt, we found something far more precious than interests. She taught me to follow my heart. I stood beside her as she shattered prejudice. We revised proposals together late into the night. We take the supercar out for weekend drives. She plays the piano while I read beside her. One day, as she lay in my arms watching a movie, she suddenly asked, "Do you regret it?" I lowered my head, kissed her forehead, and smiled. Yeah, I regret not meeting you earlier. In truth, life isn't really full of that many debts and calculations. It's just that when the right person appears, every rule becomes an exception, and I'm grateful that my exception is Tiffany.